Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, we're going to be talking all about the Georgia-Tennessee game, and that seems to be all anybody's talking about. This is the big game of the weekend. It's at Georgia at night. It's going to be more than a little bit difficult for the Vols.
He ain't lying.
But we've got some pretty darn good news coming in this video that I think you'll enjoy. And I'm also bringing in a buddy of mine, Andy Stringfield, who is a professional musician, went to UT, and he's a huge Vols fan. He follows it as closely as anybody I've ever met, and kind of loses his mind at every game, like a lot of us do, but he really takes it to the extreme. But anyway, he wanted to join in, and I thought this is an ideal time for him to talk about this game because he keeps his ear to the ground as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's get right on into this show. All right, Andy, I understand you're at Dollywood right now. As I've told you folks in the past, Andy is a musician and singer, very good one, and he plays up in Dollywood for the Kingdom Heirs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Georgia game coming up. That's all anybody's discussing. Of course, Andy follows the Vols as heavily as anybody that I know, other than, I guess, the Andy Griffith Show is probably your other thing you cover the best.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, you just never know when another beast might come down out of the forest. You understand, don't you, Thumb Lou?
It's a close
But anyway, we're going to talk all about that. All anybody's talking about is Nico. Will he be able to play? Of course, we also got the news that Trevor ETIENNE will not be playing in this game. He's out, which is their number one running back, and they're down to their fourth-string running back at this point.
Yeah, and I really think that bodes well for Tennessee's defense because Georgia has struggled on offense a lot, especially Carson Beck with the interceptions, and they just have not played well. They don't look like a typical Georgia team that we've grown used to seeing the last 4 or 5 years. So I really think Tennessee has a big advantage there on defense, and Georgia really they don't have the playmakers around Carson Beck that they used to have, that we're used to seeing. And I feel like ETN was probably the best playmaker they had on the field. So I think that hurts them even more.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is going to be playing at night in Athens. That'll be a huge advantage for them, and their backs against the wall. They have to win this game, period. I feel like we may be in the same boat because if you noticed, the college football playoff jumped Indiana, BYU in front of us, and I think that's a daunting signal that they don't respect what we've done this year.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
No, and for no reason. I mean, all three teams won. Tennessee didn't do anything to warrant falling in the poll and being jumped by Indiana and BYU. Indiana hasn't beaten a top 25 team yet. They'll have a chance when they play Ohio State, and they barely beat a 500 Michigan team, and BYU barely escapes a struggling Utah team as well. So I don't really see what they're seeing here.
Yeah, I would have to agree with all of that. Now let's talk about Nico. Obviously, this week started out with this business with Chris Fallica, the Bear, saying that he was not going to play, and I'm going to actually play that now. It'll just take me a second here.
And that being said, I don't know what you have heard about Nico Iamaleava playing this week. I have heard that it was a bad concussion, and people that I've spoken to do not believe that he is going to play. We'll see what happens. Josh Heupel certainly offered a different tune, as you would expect him to do early in the week, to probably just have Georgia prepare as if Nico were going to play, have the college football playoff selection committee prepare to rank them as they were going to have their starting quarterback for this game. So look, maybe my intel is wrong, and maybe he is fine, and hopefully for his sake and the health of him in the long-term future, I hope that it wasn't a bad concussion. I hope he is okay, and I hope college football fans get to see him out there on Saturday, I'm sure.
I don't know that I buy that. I've spoken with someone who's pretty close to the program, and they certainly feel like Nico is going to play. He has been with the team at practice. I don't think he has practice. They haven't actually said that. They just say he's been with them at practice. And I feel like I don't think Vegas thinks Nico's going to play. I think that's why the line is what it is. And I think the line's way too high. Opened at 9.5. It was bet up to 11.5. I think it's around 9.5, 10.5 right now. I don't think Vegas thinks Nico's going to play.
I've got a couple of scoops here that some folks will already know, but I'm going to show this. Hold on, just give me a second here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And here you can see Chris Lowe confirms that Nico Iamaleava will play Saturday night in Athens. Let's see, it says Josh Ward says that he expected Nico to play at Georgia unless there's a setback in the next couple of days, noting the importance of following protocol for head injuries. He's certainly on track to play, and I think he will play, and that's what Chris Lowe said. Josh Ward reported that. So that's some news right there that I think is interesting. Of course, also Shannon Terry, who is the CEO of On3 and was the original founder of Rivals and 247, said he's going to play. Then we have this as well, and this is a local reporter that's been covering the Vols for a very long time, and this is Dave Hooker. Yeah, Dave Hooker said, I firmly believe that Nico will play based on what I've been told via multiple sources. However, concussions are different, so there is always an unknown element. So that's another guy believes that he will play. So I thought that Dave Hooker's is tied into Tennessee is more than probably Chris Lowe or Chris Fallica or Shannon Terry.
Yeah, and I think all signs point to Nico playing. And I heard on a radio show yesterday that they practiced indoors with the crowd noise, and it was very loud, and somebody in very serious concussion protocol would not be in that environment with a lot of loud noise. So I also think that's a good sign for Nico in Tennessee.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, you wouldn't think, if you're suffering from any concussion problems, the last thing you want to do is be dealing with a lot of heavy noise. And it'll be very loud there in Georgia. I would think Eric Ainge hadn't come out and said anything like that again. I'm sure he won't do that.
I hope not.
Speaking of that, I need you to react to this. There is a Georgia media source that has guaranteed that Georgia will win this game and has made it clear that the Tennessee program is a fraud. And as a matter of fact, I'll actually let you hear that right now.
Okay.
Let me get out ahead of it. Tennessee is fraudulent. They're overrated. Georgia's going to beat them on Saturday. Period.
You sure about that?
End of discussion. Georgia's going to beat Tennessee on Saturday. Take it to the bank.
Oh, he got me mad. I almost like it.
So I thought you might enjoy hearing that.
Why even show up? Why play the game? Let's just sit this one out.
Man, I'm telling you, he is setting himself up for some possible crow. Of course, he may be correct. They may very well win. They're favored by 10 points. We're not 100% sure that Nico will play. They are missing Trevor Etienne. And let me pull up the injury report, and I'll show you this. I think you'll find this quite interesting. All right, this is the injury report for Georgia. If you see here, there's 3 running backs out, and the guy they're going to count on is Cash Jones. He's questionable, so he's banged up. So they're down to their 4-string running back, and he's not guaranteed to play. We'll certainly see. So,
well, and if you're Tennessee, that's what you want. You want the game to be in Carson Beck's hands because he's obviously shown he's prone to turn the ball over, and Tennessee has a very elite defense this year, which I think has surprised everybody. We certainly didn't see that coming. We knew they had great defensive line play, but they have been outstanding. They haven't allowed more than 20 points in a game all year. I really don't see – Georgia hasn't shown me anything to say that they're going to score more than that, much more than that. Now, Tennessee can make mistakes and give them gifts and turn the ball over, and there could be quirky plays like a special teams play or something like that. But I just think this game features Tennessee favors Tennessee just for the defense alone.
Yeah, we've not had a great defense. We've had a good defensive line, but never anybody behind them that we considered great. This team is really solid all the way through. And the one good thing about defense, it usually travels. Mm-hmm. A lot of times offense doesn't because the crowd can get involved and can really throw off your offensive scheme and the ability to communicate and then also to audibilize. Right. That will be the case down there. But your defense doesn't need that as much.
Correct. And another thing I want to give Tennessee staff credit for is they went out and got a brand new secondary out of the transfer portal. And man, has that been a big addition for Tennessee this year? I mean, the secondary has struggled here under Josh Heupel since he's been here, but they went out and got some guys. Jamad McCoy has just been incredible, and he's going to be playing on Sundays next year, I believe. And so I give Tennessee a lot of credit for going out and fixing the issues in the secondary.
Yeah, it shocked me. I was really surprised. I didn't really care that they got rid of the entire secondary because honestly, they weren't that good. No. But to have them to play to this level has been very impressive. And you're not hearing anybody screaming about getting the secondary coach fired anymore. That's gone away, which proves that it was about the talent, not necessarily the scheme. Mm-hmm. And the same with Tim Banks. And I agree with you, Carson, but it's up to Carson Beck. Now, look, he's a very good quarterback. He was great last year, but he doesn't have Brock Bowers. He doesn't have McCulkey, I believe was his name. He's in the NFL now. They're both in the NFL. I think one went in the first round, one went in the third. But anyway, he doesn't have those all-stars to lean on, and they're really counting on Carson Beck. And I think that's why he's been making those mistakes and having a dozen interceptions, whereas the year before he only had 6. So I would have to agree with you on that.
And another thing on the other side of the ball for Tennessee that nobody's really talking about because it's all about Nico, is Dante Thornton, because word is that he's also in concussion protocol. And Dante Thornton is Tennessee's best receiver, and he's their deep threat. So I think having him on the field is going to be very important this week for Tennessee to be able to stretch the field out and be able to then run the ball with Dylan Sampson. So that's somebody else to look out for is Dante Thornton.
Well, let me pull up that injury report here.
I believe they said questionable last night.
There's our injury report. And, of course, we know Jordan Thomas, Keenan Peely, those were 2 losses that really hurt. But Bishop's out, our running back, so we're going to be really relying on, of course, Dylan Sampson. There's Dante Thornton, questionable, Nico, questionable, and then Lang. So injuries are certainly going to play a huge role in this. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this is a big game for Tennessee. This is one of the biggest regular season games that I remember for Tennessee in a while.
Biggest thing ever happened in Mayberry. Real big.
Especially this late in the season with everything on the line. And I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be a 21-17, 24-20 type game. And I think Tennessee will be right there in it and have a chance to win late in the game Saturday.
I think a lot of people are thinking that here in Tennessee. Now, granted, whenever you play at night, especially with a team like Georgia, they can get a hold of you and things can go sour pretty easily. Hopefully with the defense that we have, that won't happen. And, of course, if Nico can play, I think that would be a big advantage for us. Not a big advantage, but necessarily not a disadvantage of not having him. And otherwise, we're looking at Gaston Moore, who, he might do just fine. We honestly don't know. But I'd hate – God, imagine the first game starting, being at Georgia at night with all the chips on the line. That's difficult.
Well, Gaston Moore he's been with Heupel for 5 years. He knows the offense, he knows the system, but he's certainly never played in an environment like this. And he's just played in garbage time. He had some he played the whole second half against Mississippi State and played well, I thought. Didn't turn the ball over, and he certainly likes to chunk it deep and throw it up for those guys, and actually drew a couple pass interference penalties. But I think this is going to be – we're going to have to rely heavily on Dylan Sampson and the tight ends, which is, where Tennessee's offense has been at their best this year, is power football, running the ball.
Yeah, I could see that. And, if it's Gaston, it's almost going to be like going from one of our 9-hole 4-man scrambles to teeing it up at the Masters.
Yeah.
Billy. Whoa, Billy. This is a biggie. Double me down, Billy. $30,000, Billy.
Which is in Georgia, of course.
Yes.
All right, that was my buddy Andy Stringfield. And also when we ended the recording, he sent me a notice that let me know that Nico actually just got on the bus heading down to Georgia. And here you see him getting ready to board. So looking pretty good right now for the Vols. Looks like he may very well be playing. Of course, he may just be going there to give support. But I don't know. He's getting on a bus. He's been around all that noise they've been piping in during practice. So it looks pretty good. But, again, that's from Rick Russo and also several other folks. Austin Price has also reported as well. And of course, we see it with our own eyes. So I guess we'll be finding out come 7 o'clock tomorrow. And we may know 90 minutes beforehand too, because usually they'll come out with another injury report. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's remember to continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, hit this little button right over here. It won't cost you a dime. Help you find my videos. And right over here is the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And I'll also do a pre-show and a post-game show tomorrow night. So check that out if you would like to keep up. I might even do a show after some of the games earlier in the day. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.